What is up, movie lovers? Welcome back to the film Frontline. Today we have to talk about the latest obsession taking over our feeds and group chats. We are officially breaking down the brand new, highly anticipated adaptation of Reminders of Him. Grab your iced coffee, get comfortable, and let's spill the tea on whether this emotional roller coaster is actually worth your hard-earned box office dollars. First of all, we have to acknowledge the absolute juggernaut that is the Colleen Hoover industrial complex. Love it or hate it, the Coho cinematic universe is expanding at a crazy rate. Ever since It Ends With Us absolutely dominated the box office and gave us all that behind-the-scenes Hollywood drama, studios have been scrambling to get these book talk sensations on the big screen. We saw it with Regretting You, and now Hoover herself has stepped in to co-write Reminders of Him. The story follows Kenna, played by the incredibly talented Micah Monroe, who has just been released from prison and is heading back to the beautifully shot wilderness of Laramie, Wyoming. Her goal? To reconnect with the daughter she gave birth to while behind bars. But it is messy, guys. Kenna was locked up for vehicular manslaughter after accidentally killing her boyfriend, Scotty. Now, Scotty's parents, played by absolute legends Lauren Graham and Bradley Whitford, have custody of her daughter, and they are definitely not rolling out the welcome mat. And because this is a quintessential soapy romance, our girl Kenna inevitably crosses paths with and starts falling for Scotty's absolute best friend, Ledger, played by Tyreek Withers. Ledger is an ex-football player who now owns a local bar, which just so happens to be right next to Kenna and Scotty's old favorite bookstore. The universe is practically screaming at them to get together. Let's talk about what actually works here. The absolute biggest pro of this film is Micah Monroe. We already know her as an undeniable scream queen, but she steps into this heavily dramatic, emotional role and totally owns it. Kenna's pain is palpable. She carries around this beat-up composition notebook, constantly writing letters to Scotty, and Monroe wears that grief beautifully. Also, major shout out to director Vanessa Caswell for trading in the typical busy city streets for the sweeping, gorgeous mountain vistas of Wyoming. It gives the movie a very distinct, isolated vibe that perfectly matches Kenna's headspace. But we have to talk about the cons, and unfortunately, there are a few fatal flaws. The movie leans heavily on a voiceover trope, where Kenna reads her letters out loud. Monroe tries her best to give it weight, but honestly, the writing in those moments lacks the gravitas it thinks it has. Furthermore, a romance movie lives and dies by the chemistry of its leads, and sadly, the spark between Kenna and Ledger just isn't giving what it needs to give. It's not entirely the actor's fault. Ledger is written more like a walking, talking plot device than a fully fleshed out human man. It makes it genuinely hard to understand what Kenna sees in him, aside from the fact that he's a convenient link to her daughter. From an industry perspective, though, this movie proves a massive point. Studios have realized that perfectly balancing absurdity with extreme emotional anguish is basically a license to print money. Even when the plot mechanics don't totally make sense, audiences are eating up this specific brand of high-stakes melodrama. And that brings me to the film Frontline opinion. Reminders of Him is not a cinematic masterpiece in the traditional sense, and it isn't trying to be. It is the pure definition of a guilty pleasure. It activates that lizard brain energy where you know the plot is wildly predictable, you know the dialogue is a little cheesy, but you absolutely cannot look away. It's a nonsensical fantasy wrapped up in a harrowing romance. And honestly, sometimes that is exactly the kind of movie we need on a Friday night. It's soapy, it's dramatic, and it is inherently watchable despite its flaws. Now, I want to hear from all of you. Are you buying a ticket to get swept up in the Coho drama? Or are you sitting this one out? Let me know all your fiery thoughts down in the comments. And if you loved this breakdown, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join the Film Frontline family for more unapologetic movie reviews and Hollywood news. Stay fierce, and I'll catch you in the next one.